what went wrong for the Seattle Seahawks down the stretch?
A lot of things went wrong, Mitchell. A lot of things went wrong. Starting with the turnovers, you can't have them. And obviously, the last one was to clinch the game. Trying to find DK Metcalf deep down the field. They were playing what looked like a form of two deep. Just keeping a shell on the defense, not allowing a big play. Geno wanted it bad. He forced it in there. Unfortunately, that's what happened. He was under duress most of the day. Managed to throw for 315 yards. 3 touchdowns, but the 2 interceptions were the difference in the ball game. Your boy K9 only had 8 carries, but had 31 yards. Had a few breakout runs there, but just played from behind for a lot of this game and was chasing the Minnesota Vikings for a good portion of this game. So had to throw the ball 43 times. Again, like you said, JSN had another really consistent, really good game. 8 catches for 95 yards. In the touchdown, had one really incredible grab in traffic, got up flexing, great catch. He's starting to develop into one of the better receivers in the National Football League. Obviously, DK had his touchdown, 3 catches for 57 yards. Jaron Reed, Boye Mafe, Derek Hall all record a sack against a really good Minnesota Vikings offensive line. Sam Darnold just continues to amaze and astound. If this was a different life, people would be talking about potential MVP for Sam Darnold, but this isn't that life. And it's just a really good, feel-good story right now. Sam Darnold, 22 of 35, 246, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Aaron Jones, 18 carries, 67 yards, another 3 catches for 26 yards. But Justin Jefferson, the guy you had to find an answer for, the guy you had to stop in this game, 10 catches for 144 yards and the 2 touchdowns. That is what killed him. Obviously, the dagger 39-yard touchdown at the end of the game into cover 2. I wasn't sure what happened on that play. It looked like Jordan Love was trying to kind of give presence to the middle of the field, but you can't give presence in that situation. You got to get over to Justin Jefferson. It looked like Reek funneled him in, even got a lot of depth to make sure it wasn't a big window. Sam Darnold got pressured, moved up in the pocket, found that window, darted it in there, no air under the ball. If there was any air under the ball, I think Julian Love would have picked it. There wasn't any air. It was a dime. That was the difference in the game at the end. Obviously, people talk about the missed field goal, but that was a long, long, long field goal, 60-yarder that they tried to attempt to tie the game. I don't think anybody expected that one. It'd been nice if it had went. But 60-yarder to tie the game is tough. From anybody. They had a chance to go down there. I think the defense made enough stops in the second half to give the offense a chance. Unfortunately, the missed field goal and the interception are what doomed them. I mean, the Seahawks couldn't ask for to be in better position going near the end of that game. Had the ball a little backed up, but with a chance to win the ball game or at least drive down and tie it. That interception was a gut punch. It really, 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 really killed the momentum. It killed everything, killed the hopes of the Seattle Seahawks, at least for this season. I don't think they're mathematically eliminated. I think, if the Rams lose and some other crazy stuff happens, there's a chance they could get in. But just a disappointing game for how well they played on both sides of the football, the plays they made. Obviously, the Minnesota Vikings are a 12-win ball club coming into this game. So it shows that Seattle Seahawks can play with anybody. They can keep the quarterback upright. They can cover with the best of them. Justin Jefferson is one of the best, if not the best receiver in the National Football League. Reek was with him step for step in a lot of these routes. Obviously, that was a cover 2 they called where they scored the touchdown. And there was he got beat on a couple, but you expect that. This is the best receiver in the National Football League. He's going to get his too. That's why you play the game. But the 2 interceptions by Dallas Turner and Theo Jackson are what ended up being the difference in this ball game. When you have a game like this, you have to execute on all cylinders. You have to be hitting on all cylinders in order to win this game. Seattle Seahawks weren't. The Minnesota Vikings were. They are now 13-2. They host the Green Bay Packers next week in a really, really pivotal game in that division. If they find a way to win that, there is a big, big, big time game with the Detroit Lions coming up that will decide perhaps the number 1 seed in the NFC. That's going to be crazy.
It's insane to me that this team is 13-2. I feel like they're not talked about enough. They deserve to be talked about more. They are, and they've always been a competitive team. It doesn't matter, who's at the helm. Like clearly, I mean, Kirk Cousins led this team for years, and now you sub in Sam Darnold, who's had a resurgence, a career revitalization. This team's locked and loaded, and they're so well coached defensively. They can gun anyone. And you go on the road against Seattle, who desperately needs a win. And by the way, Richard, they are not eliminated. They go on the road, like you said, and play against these lowly Chicago Bears, who we saw the Detroit Lions beat up on today. And then they finish up in what could be a deciding factor game at the end of the season against the LA Rams. I don't know the tiebreakers. I'm not that guru just yet. I'd have to check exactly what has to go on here for the Seattle Seahawks to make the playoffs. But if it comes down to it, and the Seattle Seahawks have to play the LA Rams for that final week, a play-in game potentially. I mean, Richard, this could be, this is exactly what the NFL wants at the tail end of the season. They say why they schedule these division games at the end. The fact that the Detroit Lions at 13-2 and the Minnesota Vikings at 13-2 are fighting for the 1 seed, and one of these teams is not going to have home field advantage in week 1 of the playoffs is a complete and utter joke. I would say confidently right now, these are the 2 best teams in the NFC. But the fact that 2 teams in the NFC North are both 13-2, and it could potentially come down to that final week in Detroit, it is madness. And this is exactly what the NFL wants